Hey everybody, I'm Carson James, and in this video we're going to talk about lead changes, and we're going to try to get this horse to do one. I haven't ridden him for about 3 months, maybe two and a half, but the last time I rode him we were working really hard on the elements that go into being able to do a flying lead change on a horse, and after about 5 tries, just kind of loping and counter cantering, I got one out of him. So then I stopped him and got off and pet him and put him away, and then we left, and now it's been 2 months and I've been on this horse for about 5 minutes walking him, and you can see him and I are already drenched. It's 100 degrees and like 90% humidity because this is Florida. So hopefully I will be able to show you guys an actual flying lead change on this horse that has only done one and kind of nailed it, so to speak. So you guys will get to see the elements. Now, I have to make this disclaimer. If you're watching this video, you should be very familiar with counter arcs, moving the hips left and right at a walk and a trot, which I'm going to show you, but the pieces, everybody was asking for a video on flying lead changes. The thing is, the flying lead change is not what you're trying to get. You're trying to get the pieces that cause the flying lead change to happen. If you just go out and try to change leads, fall apart every single time. It has nothing to do with the actual lead change, everything to do with the preparation. So, really quick, just go over the things you should have and the level they should be at. So I'm going to move his hips that direction. So hips go there, very light. Right when I reach, the hips just go. Hips over there, and then I can switch this leg and I can push the hips back over that way. You got to have hip control. You notice the front end stayed still. It stayed in the same pot, just the hips. Now I want to make sure I can do this without having to use reins. So this might take a couple tries, but I'll reach back here to the hip. Good, and he's got enough understanding to know that I'm not asking him to go, I'm asking his hip to go over. So now I'll bring this leg back a little bit and I'll try to push his hip back over this direction. Very good. You noticed he does it right when I drop. He just stands there. He doesn't continue to walk off. These are all the things you really need to have in place before trying to do a flying lead change. Even with him, as you'll see, I'll probably have to stop him, kind of have a visit with him and say, hey, remember when I do this, move your hip and pick up your shoulder and bend and flex it. And you'll see me stop. If he misses the lead change, you'll see me stop him, kind of visit with him for a minute and really emphasize the pieces that I need of his body and what I need those pieces to do for him to be able to execute a flying lead change. This is one of the most advanced maneuvers you can do on a horse. So we're also going to need really good counter arcs, meaning I need to tip the nose this way and have the shoulders go the opposite direction. So if nose goes to the left, the shoulders need to go to the right. Not too bad. He's still a little bit on his front end and he's kind of pushing on me with his face just a little bit. Let me soften it there. That would be, I want him to get where he can stay soft in his pole while we're doing these while we're doing these counter arcs. That I'm much happier with that. He got a little pushy there. Good, that's a really good thing to have. You'll want to have that going both directions. Now we need to make sure we've had these things at a trot. As I trot him, I'm going to try to push his hips left and right. So I'll get him trotting here. I'll come right towards the camera. I'll have the hips go to my left. There, you see the hip come over right there. Now we'll bring the now we'll bring the hip towards the fence. Good. You see, as he goes through these turns, he swings his hip out away from the camera. Okay, we'll push the hip away from the camera. There, keep that forward motion. Keep that there. Got to keep them going. They got to have forward motion. Okay, this time we'll push the hips around that way. Good. Push the hips this way. Good. So we can move those hips a little bit. We need to make sure we have a good counter arc at a trot. So we'll tip the nose left, bring the shoulders to the right. Try to keep him soft in his pole. Good, just like that. I was pretty happy with that one. For not being rode in 2 months, he's feeling pretty good. Check our counter arc to the left, so the nose comes to the right, and we'll push those shoulders to the left. Try to keep him soft in his pole. Kind of died out a little bit, so I'm going to say, hey, move those feet. Keep those feet moving. There. Okay. So, those are probably the most important pieces. Now, I'm going to do a flying lead change and a walk to show you guys so you can maybe connect how what I just showed you comes into play. So, let's pretend my right-handed circle is going like this. My left-handed circle is going like this. So we've drawn a figure 8 in the arena, and I am right in the center of that figure 8 on the straight part of the 8. This is my right-handed circle. So let's pretend I'm loping around here. He's a little bit soft in his pole. He's bent just slightly, going on my circle to the right. Now when I come towards the camera, I'm going to right across my straight line of my 8, I'm going to do my change. So here we go. Nose to the left, shoulders to the right, hips to the left, and then bam, and you would lope off. That would be your flying lead change. So now we're loping on our left lead, and we're on our left circle. See if we can soften him a little. There, try to get him to think about being kind of soft right here. As I come towards the camera, nose to the right, shoulders to the left, hips to the right. I'm really exaggerating this, and there, and boom, and there's your switch onto your right lead. You're basically doing that at a lope. The main thing behind a flying lead change is hip control. If they change in the front, they don't have to change leads in the back. But if they change leads in the back and not in the front, that's fine. It's really easy to get them to change in the front. So you are really riding the back end when you're asking for that lead change. All of your focus is in, as you're loping, getting the hip to go, boom, there's my left lead, and then boom, there's my right lead, and then boom, there's my left lead. You notice the shoulders pretty much stayed on a straight line, and the hip did like this as he was walking forward. That is the most important thing. So you need another really important key. You need to be able to step the hips towards the nose while keeping the shoulders out. Okay, so if you watch here, I'm going to walk around the camera. I'm going to tip the nose towards the camera. I'm using this leg to keep these shoulders out away from the camera. Now on the count of 3, you're going to see me use this leg and push the hip towards the camera. 1, 2, 3. Keep the shoulders out, push the hip in. Keep your forward motion. There, there, good. And then lope off. That would be your right lead canter departure. For a left lead canter departure, it would be this. The hip would go to the left inside of your left circle. The nose would tip into the circle. And while you're holding this posture, this position, you noticed I've got my rein up against his neck so I can keep his shoulders out. See there? That is a flying lead change. The better you get him at that, the better you'll be able to do it. Okay, now we're going to actually start. The key to teaching a flying lead change is a counter canter. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go around here on the left. I'll take up this end of the arena and I'll come right across the center of it. But I'm going to lope him to the left, but he's going to be on the right lead, meaning his right hand lead. So technically the incorrect lead, okay? And then as I come across the center, I'm going to try to push his hip over that direction to the inside of that left circle. They're with the shotguns. The neighbors are feisty. Good old Florida. Anyways, so where was that? Yeah, I'm going to try, as I'm loping across the center of the arena, going to the left circle, I will be on the right lead. And as I come across the center, you will see me lift up his shoulder, and I will try to get his hip to go to the inside of this circle I'm about to be on. All right, so first I've got to get him on his right lead. So I'm going to push the hip to the right. There's our right lead. Now I'm just going to let him lope on his right lead, make sure he can hold that right lead. When you first start doing counter canter, it feels really awkward, because it is for you and the horse. But the more you do this counter canter, the more they improve their balance and their coordination, and the more comfortable they can lope on the incorrect lead. So I'm going to pick the shoulder up and hip. There you go. And there is your left lead. And he did it really nice, really smooth. So I'm just going to stop him and let him rest right there. I'm actually surprised he nailed that on the first time. He did really good with it. So I can't say what I'm doing fast enough because it happens quickly. I'm showing you guys exactly what I did to get that flying lead change, but I cannot say it as fast as it's happening at a lope, so I'm going to just have to show you guys what is happening with his body at a walk to cause that flying lead change. So let's, I'm loping, I'm coming around here, going to the left, I'm on the right lead, okay? So he's counter cantering. I've got the nose slightly bent to the left, and I'm really trying to help him keep his shoulders away from the inside of this circle. So for the shoulders, you might see me really riding like that. See how that's kind of a counter arc where I'm keeping these shoulders way away from the center of that circle. The shoulders have to stay out and up, particularly this shoulder. So that's what I'm doing with the shoulders. Now let me go back here and restart. So I'm keeping the shoulders out, and when I'm ready to do my change, this leg is sliding back about 4 inches, and I'm pushing his hip to the inside, to the center of that circle. So from here to here stays bent, and it stays out like this. When I'm ready for the change, I grab his hip with this foot, and I push his hip into the center. So this is it. We're loping on the right lead. Now I'm going to prepare him. Prepare, and hips to the left and lope off. And that's your lead change to the left. It's all about keeping the bend in the body, keeping the shoulders out, and keeping the hip in. A counter canter is a great way to introduce the flying change. Once they get good at that, both directions, you can start coming around on the correct lead. So I would be loping around to the left on the left lead, and then I would change right here. So I would tip the nose, shoulders this direction, hips that direction, and then lope off. And that would be our right lead. Canter departures, that's something you have to have. In order to have a flying lead change, your canter departures have to be fairly decent. A canter departure is where you can just lope right out, like that. That's a canter departure. A really good way to teach those is to get them backing and then try to have them leave just kind of hard. We do this at clinics, usually by the end of the second day. And leave a little bit for me. There, see him kind of push and drive up out of that stop. Now let's ask a little more. Back. Now leave a little bit for me. There, see him kind of load up his hind end and drive. So over a week time, you could teach a horse to go right into a lope. Back. Now leave for me. Good. That should not be something that scares them or surprises them. You practice it and wean them into it. So that's a canter departure. Once you can do it like that, you need to be able to do it from a walk. So watch here, I'll go around to the left. I'll position him for his left lead. I'll keep the shoulders out and I'll drive the hip in, and then we'll lope off. So this will be a left lead canter departure. Get him soft in his face, shoulders to the outside of the circle, hips to the inside of the circle, and lope off. That's your left lead canter departure. He needs to be able to maintain bend in his body without diving in or drifting out. They need to be able to lope nice circles and hold a little bit of bend. And every now and then you can just practice a counter arc at a lope. I'll bring these shoulders way over here, and then I'll release them and I'll let them come in again. Then I'll use my left leg and push these shoulders to the right. He kind of lost his lope right there, but that's fine. I'll just go ahead and finish my shoulders here. Good, and then quit him right there, and that's fine. So for a right lead canter departure, the shoulders will go to the left, the nose will go to the right, and the hips will come towards the nose. Soften him up a little bit, load him up, load it up, and release it. There's your right lead. I'm exaggerating this so you guys can kind of tell what's going on, but these things you're seeing is the key to a canter departure, or a lead change. So notice he's holding pretty good bend. He's not stiff in his body or his neck. As I'm loping him here, I'll just see if I can get those shoulders to go way, way out here. So here we go. I'll open up this side. Good. Now I'll release him and I'll let him come on around. Now I'll pick up the shoulders and move them out. Good. That all feels fine. Just fine. It could get better, but I'm pretty impressed with it. Something else that'll help your lead changes. You notice that when I quit riding, so see, I'm riding him. When I quit riding, he shuts down. So if your horse is goey or out in front of you or hot or always wanting to go faster, you're wasting your time. You need to get your horse where he's underneath you and not trying to go and speed up, where he stays right underneath you speed-wise. So as you guys watch this, I don't want you to even think about the lead change. If you rewind this, do not watch the lead change over and over. Watch the very beginning when I talked about the hips and picking up the shoulders and softening at the pole. Canter departures. The flying lead change, the one that he did, has nothing to do with lead changes. That is just what happens when you have these other, whatever, 10, 12 things. So get the fundamentals. That is the flying lead change. The flying lead change is backing through your circles, getting a horse that backs up really well. It all comes together, but that is how you would do it once your horse was to a place where he could. All right.